We now leave behind our beloved guest house here in La Pontaine, a commune which is perched into the heart of the Mù Cang Chải district, a place where the mountains rise like sentinels and the land speaks in terraces of magical proportions. Here we learn that this is certainly no ordinary district. No, it is actually a masterpiece that is carved by the hands of the Hmong ancestors into the mighty Hong Lin Sun mountain range, a cordillera which is considered an eastern extension of the Great Himalayas. Here we also gain the understanding that each season is rewriting the valley's endless story as following. The flood season mirrors the sky. The seedling season is piercing the earth. The golden season shows amber waves that gently sway with the wind and roll down the steep slopes. And in the winter season, it is the silence that makes it so magical and unforgettable as the crimson-colored red maple trees are gently decorating the valley. We also had the pleasure to observe their agricultural techniques, as well as the enduring presence of their practices in the landscape, a feature that deeply reflects their history of adaptation and continuity throughout their hilly area of this valley. And now, as you might have noticed it too, we are already well into our way down the Mù Cang Chải Valley, and into the region of Mường Kim, which is located in the Thanh Uyên district of the remote, ethnic, and majestic Lai Châu province. From there we will trace the quiet curves of the Thanh Uyên Valley, and along the Vuan Quoc Gia Hong Lin State Park, where the morning mist should cling to the rice terraces like unforgotten memories itself. And once we reach Huy Cu of Sun Ben, in the Tam Duong district, we shall then ascend into the Sun Ben Valley, where the landscape grows steeper, wilder, and more untamed with every turn, as our path will coil upward toward the legendary OQuyHoPass, a gateway which is known locally as the Heaven's Gate, and which is also the highest and most storied mountain pass here in Vietnam, a pass that is topping out at nearly 2,000 meters above sea level. Then, once we are beyond the summit, we shall descend into Lao Cai, where the air turns colder, the clouds draw nearer, and where the town of Sapa will finally reveal itself, a hill station which is cradled into the Hong Lin Sun Range, and where ethnic heritage and alpine beauty converge unlike any other places in Vietnam. If this sounds like your kind of adventure, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride, a journey through Vietnam's northern frontiers, where worlds and cultures will collide in breathtaking harmony.
Okay, here is the petrol pump. It's a bit busy, huh? Okay, look we go.
Here we are now traversing Mù Cang Chải, which is the capital of this district, and nestled at the foot of the Hong Lin Sun mountain range. It began as a modest Hmong settlement that has been shaped by generations who carved their terraced fields into the mountains to survive and thrive. For centuries, it remained isolated and accessible only by the winding pass of Khao Pha, forcing its people to rely on subsistence farming that has been guided by their ancestral knowledge and the rhythm of the seasons. The town slowly grew into a local administrative center, and anchoring the surrounding communes with markets, schools, and cultural gatherings. Today, the town of Mù Cang Chải is still small, but it pulses with new energy. Homestays and eco-resorts now dot the hillsides, and welcoming travelers that are drawn to the golden harvests and misty landscapes. The town also blends its rich tradition and tourism, where the Hmong textiles hang beside motorbike repair shops, and the elders that are dressed in their indigo robes are sharing their space with the young guides who are fluent in multiple languages. And so, it has now become a place where heritage is not just preserved, but it is lived, adapted, and very well shared along its residents. On my left is one of the numerous water reservoirs and water gates which are situated throughout this valley, demonstrating the infrastructure that enables the valley's self-sustaining power system. It is here in the lower valley of Mù Cang Chải, where water is not just collected and used for farming, but where it is also a key resource for generating their own electricity and managing the seasonal flows of the Nam Kim River. Here, the area's steep terrain and consistent water supply from the many mountain streams make it ideal for small-scale hydroelectric systems. And these systems use the water gates to control flow and direct it through turbines that are producing electricity for the countless small and larger villages that are located nearby. These water gates also play a critical role in agriculture, as during the planting season, they help to flood the terraced fields at just the right time. And during heavy rains, they prevent flooding by regulating how much water moves downstream. This clever setup has certainly improved the daily life for many communities enormously, as homes that once relied on candles or generators now have steady power, and schools and clinics can operate more reliably, and because the systems are local and sustainable, they reduce dependence on fossil fuels and large infrastructure. Of course, the tourism industry has also benefited from these expansions, as eco-lodges and homestays now have access to electricity without damaging the landscape. And so, we visitors can experience the natural beauty of the valley while learning how the community uses traditional water management alongside the many modern energy solutions such as solar power and wind turbines. Here we are passing through the Khao Mang area. It is one of the most remote communes in the Mù Cang Chải district, as it is tucked deep into the folds of the mountains, and I learned that life here has always been shaped by altitude, isolation, and resilience. The Hmong and the Thai communities who live in these villages here rely mostly on terraced farming, hand-built irrigation, and a rhythm of survival that is passed down through many generations. For decades, this very area also remained off the grid, literally without power, but that has changed with the construction of the Khao Mang Ha and the Khao Mang Thuong hydropower plants, which were built along here on the Nam Kim River. As we discussed it already, thanks to these small-scale projects, it did not just bring them electricity, but it also brought them new opportunities, as their homes suddenly lit up, and their schools gained the so much needed resources, and transforming the valley that once was defined by silence after the sunset, into a hum filled with new life.
With a waterfall.
And this here is the Ho Ban region, which is also a remote highland commune that is home to the Hmong communities who practice traditional farming on steep terraced rice fields. The terrain here is rough, mountainous and forested, with limited infrastructure, consisting mostly of dirt roads and houses that are still built on wooden stilt. As almost everywhere in this valley, the rural local life revolves around the rice cultivation, livestock, and forest gathering. It also includes cultural practices like weaving and the playing of the bamboo flute music that remains a strong tradition, especially during seasonal festivals. Though it is not a tourist hub, the area of Hmong offers raw and very authentic experiences for those seeking cultural immersion and ecological beauty. Luckily, the transformation has not erased tradition yet, as the farmers still guide water through bamboo channels, and the children still learn the Hmong embroidery from their elders, while the mountains still guard the commune like ancient sentinels. Hmong is not a tourist hotspot, it is a working landscape where the energy, the heritage, and the quiet strength converge. And for those like us who can make the journey here, it offers a rare glimpse into a Vietnam that is still evolving without losing its soul. We just now reached the area of Mù Cang here in the quiet folds of the then Uyên district, where the mountains cradle the sky and the air carries the whispers of the past. As this is the place where in the autumn of 1949 history stirred up the people of this land. As deep within the forested slopes of the Nong Nan Hill, a spark of revolution was lit, which was a turning point for the region's resistance against the invading colonial forces. And so, this village here, which is called Ban Lut, became the birthplace of the first party cell of the Lai Chau province, which was led by the pioneers like Tran Quoc Man and Hong Hoa Thuong. Their resisting courage turned this remote village into a symbol of awakening. And today, the site is marked by a memorial stele and a tranquil garden, which is a place not just to remember, but to feel the pulse of a movement that once changed the course of a province. But Mù Cang is not only a place of memory, it is also a place of motion, as just 25 kilometers to the west, the floating village of Tam Phi drifts gently on the mighty Ban Chat hydropower reservoir. It is the huge mountain lake, where fish farms sway with the breeze, and the bamboo rafts are gliding across the mirrored surfaces, and where you can also smell the scent of delicious freshly grilled river fish while witnessing the laughters of the mingling locals. And as we continue our ride northbound along the valley floor, we can clearly witness that here even the land itself is a canvas of real life, as the Mù Cang terrain with its winding road and hidden trails is leading all up to the forgotten corners here in the northwestern parts of Vietnam's last frontiers, a drapery that rolls out in painterly waves through this mist and cloud-laced scenery, that makes it not only a cradle of resistance, but also a sanctuary of nature and a crossroad of culture, making it the perfect destination for us travelers, because it not just offers good scenery, but also the meaning, the memory, and the connection to the rural population here.
Uyên, Happy Land.
We now reached the surrounding areas of Mù Cang, where the rice fields stretch across one of the largest and most fertile valleys here in the northwest of Vietnam. Locals say it is the third most beautiful rice field after Muang Ton and Muang Lo. The fields are spanning roughly 2,000 hectares of flat, fertile soil, which turns the valley into a vast sheet of gold, framed by the hills of the Hong Lin Sun Range, as the harvest season bathes the landscape in a warm amber glow. The communes here are home to primarily Thai ethnic groups, who maintain traditional stilt houses and a rich heritage of brocade weaving. I have also been told that not far from here in the nearby Muang Tsang area, the women still work at their looms to produce towels, cushions, and ceremonial cloths, especially in preparation for weddings and the annual Tet festival, and that their weaving process uses only natural dyes, which includes indigo, and patterns which were passed down through generations. Moreover, I learned that one of the region's most distinctive culinary traditions is the pa bung fish, which is a Thai people's specialty of this region. The fish, caught from the Nam Mu River, is cleaned and marinated with ginger, chili, garlic, salt, and roasted glutinous rice. It is then sealed inside apricot shoots for about half a month before it is being grilled over charcoal. And the result, as you can imagine, is a yummy and smoky, aromatic dish that is often served with fragrant sticky rice. And as this commune is located here on the highway QL32, it makes it a natural stop for us visitors to stop also at Muang Mit and Muang Chong to experience not only its scenery, but also its traditional crafts, delicious local cuisine and the seasonal agricultural life, while we are traversing between the valleys of Mù Cang Chải and Lai Chau.
Hello. Leaves them on the house roofs, my God. I think they're very happy the road construction is finished.
We already reaching Kam Chong, which is also known as the Green Crown of the Tan Uyên district. Unfortunately, as we could witness, the road is under construction, which makes it not the greatest place to ride a motorbike. But nevertheless, here in this area at the Kam Chong mountain, which is more than a striking peak, it is the landmark that is woven into the district's identity as it is rising above the valleys of the Tan Uyên district. And at over 1,500 meters in height, it truly stands as a natural watchtower, with slopes that are cloaked in tea hills, cinnamon groves, and patches of ancient forest. For generations, the surrounding villages, which are home to the Thai, the Hmong, the Dao, the Khmer Mu and other ethnic groups, have looked to Kam Chong as both a source of livelihood and a cultural anchor. The mountain's fertile foothills nurture the famous Thanh Uyên tea, which is a product once grown only for local use, but now sought after far beyond the valley of Lai Chau. Historically, the area around Kam Chong lay on important upland routes that are linking Thanh Uyên and Tan Uyên to the neighboring provinces. And during the resistance years, its forests offered shelter and strategic cover for revolutionary activities, while its high ridges served as natural lookout points. Today, this region draws visitors for its panoramic views over the Nam Mu River Valley, the patchwork of rice terraces, and the sea of clouds that often drapes its summit at dawn. It remains a place where history, culture, and nature meet, represents a green crown on the head of Tan Uyên, that is carrying the stories of those who have lived in its shadow for many centuries.
Side of the Mount Fansipan, which is the highest mountain there in India. But I'm not really sure because it's still all covered with the clouds.
The road here definitely snakes through bare and sunbaked hills, and each turn kicking up a cloud of more ochre dust that clings to our skin and clothes. And as you can imagine, on the motorbike, the grit stings in our eyes and grinds between our teeth, as the engine is growling and jolting over the many ruts and loose stones. By the time we reach the next village, we are coated in the same red earth as the mountains, which is a long-lasting experience in itself, carrying the road's rough memory on our bodies.
Uyên, goodbye and see you again. Was a bit dusky though. Oh my god, look at this, it's all white. Holy cow.
We are now ahead of Hoi Ki, which is the mountain hamlet by the stream that is tucked into the high slopes of the Sun Ben commune. The town of Hoi Ki itself is a small upland village here in the Tam Duong district, where the Hong Lin Sun range begins to break into valleys and streams. Its name, in the local Thai language, refers to a stream of bamboo, a nod to the clear water that runs year-round relentlessly from the surrounding forested hills. For generations, Hoi Ki has been home to the Thai and the Hmong families, who also built their stilt houses along the slopes and cultivated rice terraces carved into the mountainside. The village's history is tied to subsistence farming, forest gathering, and the seasonal rhythms of the Nam Mu River basin. In the resistance years, this remote location and dense forests offered shelter and safe passage for local militia who were moving between Sun Ben and its neighboring communes. Today, as we can still clearly notice, Hoi Ki is remaining very much off the main tourist trail. Yes, it can be reached by the still narrow, winding mountain roads that turn to dust in the dry season and mud in the raining months, as progress up here it's still very slow. And visitors like us, who make the journey here to the back side of the Fansipan mountain, a less traveled road located onto this far-off place and also leading to Sapa, will find many places where the air still smells of wood smoke and wild herbs, and where the sound of the stream is constant, and the life still follows the slow and enduring pace of the highlands. Hoi Ki also sits at the crossroads where the QL32 is merging with the QL4D, which is a T-junction, and when turning to the right, it turns into the winding road that climbs up toward the legendary OQuyHoPass, which is when coming from the direction of this side, like we are coming from now, and this is leading up to the almost 2,000-meter high gateway into the Sapa Valley below. But when turning to the left, it will lead into the wilder northern countryside, and beyond the last switchbacks when it merges into the QL12 onto the town of Pa Nam Chum, which is located in the Ma Lai Pho commune, a frontier hamlet where the Nam Chum stream meets the Nam Na River at Vietnam's farthest northwestern point, that is reaching toward the cross-border point with China. And so, this junction here has long been a lifeline for traders, herders, and border patrols, as its paths are still echoing with the footsteps of ethnic Thai, Hmong, and Hani communities. It is also said that in wartime and in peace, the mountains here have guarded their secrets, sheltering those who knew the trails and testing those who did not. But as of today, Hoi Ki remains a quiet sentinel between worlds, and is a place where the road itself feels like a story that is still being written.
Oh, the run out for the trucks with brake failure. Having a football tournament here, so.
We already reached the northern edge of the Sun Ben commune here in the Tam Duong district, where the village of Chu Va is resting here at the foot of the legendary OQuyHoPass, which is the king of the Northwestern passes, and located here in Vietnam's northern highlands. The pass is a mountain gateway that is stretching for nearly 50 kilometers across the Hong Lin Sun Range. Here and now, the road begins its long, winding climb toward the pass's 2,000-meter high summit, where the province of Lai Chau meets the Lao Cai province and where the air turns rough, windy, cool, and very thin. Chu Va is certainly much more than a roadside stop. It is a vantage point where we travelers can look back over the Nam Mu River Valley on one side, and forward toward the cloud-draped ridges of the Fansipan mountain peaks on the other side. For generations, the Thai and the Hmong people here have lived between the two worlds, the fertile lowlands below and the high mountain trade routes above. In the past, the pass was a lifeline for goods, salt, and stories that were moving between these two provinces, and in wartime, it was a guarded artery that led through these roughed mountains. Today, the ascent from here in the lower valley of Chu Va to the OQuyHoPass is still a test of skills and nerves, as it is a ribbon of asphalt that is curling along the cliffs. Rock faces that are opening to sudden views, giving inside knowledge like countless pages in a giant book of wild and hair-raising mountain stories. But today we are lucky, because when the clouds roll in, the hamlet of Chu Va would feel like the last outpost before the road is disappearing into the sky, but for now that is not yet the case. Here we just reaching the Rong May Glass Bridge, which is suspended 2,200 meters above the sea level on this flank of the Hong Lin Sun Range. The Rong May Glass Bridge stretches from the mountainside like a dragon reaching into the clouds, and its transparent floor revealing the dizzying drop to the valley floor, which is a staggering 300 meters below the deck. Visitors can ascend in the breathtaking double glass lift that is clinging here to the cliff face and rising through veils of mist until they step out onto the bridge, where the sky, the peaks, and the abyss merge into one vast panorama. We just left the glass bridge of Rong May behind us, and are now on the final switchback stretch to the top of the pass, as the air is getting thinner and the horizon much wider. It is said that the legend of the OQuyHo seems to rise from the mist, and it is the tale of the woodcutter who loved a beautiful fairy, whose voices was forever echoing across the mountains in the mournful cry, OQuyHo. I learned that the locals still point to the Love Waterfall, where they once met, and to the pass itself, which is called the Heaven's Gate, the place where he listened to her callings while the clouds gathered all year round. And that is also the spot from where we can see the mighty Fansipan Massif, a range of peaks which are also known as the dominant roof of Indochina. And so far, we can say that the climb from the Nam Mu River Valley in the Lai Chau province side is both more gentler in gradient, and more wilder in scenery. Furthermore, it comes with much fewer travelers and a rawer, and much more untamed beautiful landscape. As we already mentioned, the pass stretches for nearly 50 kilometers, and this is making it the longest mountain gateway here in Vietnam's northwest. Moreover, the summit straddles two worlds, the cool and the misty embrace of the Lao Cai province to the east, and the sun-baked winds of the Lai Chau province to the west. And on clear days, the road unfurls below like a silk thread, and above it all, the Fansipan mountain peak stands sentinel as the roof of Indochina. Now standing here at the top of the OQuyHoPass, and gazing at the majestic Fansipan mountain with its granite shoulders draped in shifting veils of clouds, while the wind is roaring like a living thing, and wrapping itself around us in cool and powerful gusts, is just one of the best experiences we can ask for. It is like being on top of the world, and that is simply an amazing feeling. Without any doubt, the sky is alive as the clouds race, twist, and tumble across the peaks, breaking apart in sudden bursts of sunlight that set the mountains aglow. And below, the valleys are a patchwork of green and gold, but up here, it feels like we have stepped into another world, a place so surreal where the earth and the sky meet in a wild and endless dance that seems to please the heaven. Every breath here tastes of mist and freedom, and every heartbeat feels in rhythm with the mountains themselves and creating the much-needed summit of sensation after this long ride up here to the top. We are now already descending from the OQuyHoPass, and into the misty cradle of the famous Sapa Valley. The steep road down forces me to use the engine brakes, and this is growling up the sound as we try to control the speed and preserve the brakes, while traversing the QL4D with its sharp declining gradient, as the road rolls out like a silver ribbon that is clinging to the mountainside, dotted with yawning and worrisome abysses on our left and on our right. The air here is sharp with pine and wildflowers, and far below, we can see the terraced rice fields that shimmer like dragon scales, as waterfalls burst from the cliffs, and the Fansipan's shadow is looming like a picture frame that is piercing dominantly through the drifting clouds on our right-hand side. And looking ahead, we already can notice that the mist is thickening on the lower valley side, and swallowing the world around the town of Sapa and below. And so we already preparing our rain jacket, just in case the mountain air will change from dry to wet, as we riding through the spine of a legend into the sea of clouds that lingers below us. We are now closing in at today's final destination. Thank you so much for joining this journey, one that began in the misty morning of Mù Cang Chải, and then riding through the Nam Mu River Valley before ascending the legendary OQuyHoPass, and into the breathtaking valley of Sapa. It is here, in the far northern frontier of the Lao Cai province, where the mountains cradle a town where silence still speaks in ancient tongues, and where the land still breathes with deep ancestral memory. And if this kind of adventure stirs something in you too, hit subscribe and come along, because in our next episode we will explore the town of Sapa and its mountainous region, a cloud kingdom that is as wild as it is sacred, and absolutely worth the journey.